you not think Spence will be in the Hall of Fame?
Right now? No, how? He fought in one division. Yeah, the WBC,
he didn't fight all four. He wasn't undisputed. He
no,
wasn't undisputed.
He wasn't. No, what I'm saying is they already called him a weight bully.
What's going on, Errol Spence? Yo, how much you end up putting on Frank, Earl?
Beat you around, beat
You said 6 figures, how much?
Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. could actually face each other again. And this time it's personal. The trash talk is heating up, and Spence is demanding a chance to rewrite history. He claims he wasn't himself in their first fight because the weight cut drained him. Crawford isn't buying the excuses, with real negotiations happening behind the scenes. The question isn't just whether the rematch will happen, but whether Spence can change the outcome this time.
He beat Kell Brook coming off of a loss, an eye injury. He beat Sean Porter.
In all fairness, he had to go over there to get that.
You know what I mean? That's a good win. I'm still a fan. I hope he do well. But like,
after months of speculation and silence, the long-awaited rematch between Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. is finally back in serious talks. Unlike past rumors that led nowhere, credible reports now indicate that both camps are actively negotiating to make the fight happen in 2025. The stakes are higher than ever, with Spence chasing redemption and Crawford aiming to put a definitive end to their rivalry.
Where I moved up in weight and I'm in the same weight as Spence, it's just like, oh man, you ain't fighting nobody. You this, you that, you this, you that. So now they trying to blemish my...
For boxing fans, this news has reignited debates across social media, sports shows, and forums. Some believe Spence deserves a chance to prove that their first fight didn't reflect his true ability, while others argue that Crawford exposed him so completely that a rematch would only confirm what they already know: Crawford is the better fighter. But despite all the excitement, there's one man who isn't buying into the hype: Terence Crawford. Crawford has made it clear that, in his view, there's nothing left to prove. He dominated Spence in their first meeting, scoring 3 knockdowns and securing a 9th round stoppage in what many considered one of the most one-sided championship beatdowns in recent history.
Just to boost him up. I'm like, dude, you're not gonna do that, because I can retire right now and be in the Hall of Fame. He couldn't. Everything that I've accomplished, he's still trying to accomplish. I don't want to sound like I'm hating on him. I honestly don't know if he make it to the Hall of Fame with the accolades that he did.
He questions what could possibly change in a rematch, especially if Spence still refuses to accept that he was outclassed. From Crawford's perspective, Spence can talk about being drained as much as he wants, but the truth remains: Crawford was faster, sharper, and more skilled in every area that night. So why is the rematch happening at all? Money, legacy, and Spence's burning desire for redemption. While Crawford may not feel the need to face Spence again, the business side of boxing has other plans. And with Spence now fully recovered and determined to prove that the weight cut affected his performance, this fight could carry even more tension and personal stakes than the first one. But the real question is, will Spence truly be a different fighter at 154 pounds? Or is Crawford right in believing the result will be exactly the same?
His experience and basically just rolled in the sleep and, hit him with a big shot and got him out there. That's the same dude he said.
If there's one thing keeping this rematch in the spotlight, it's the non-stop verbal jabs coming from both fighters. Crawford has been blunt as ever, brushing off Spence's demands for another shot and reminding everyone that their first fight was a showcase of complete domination. He's dismissed the weight cut excuses and made it clear he doesn't believe Spence can do anything differently, no matter the weight class. But Spence isn't staying quiet. He's firing back, insisting that his performance in their first fight was nowhere near his best because of the brutal cut to 147 pounds. He says years of making welterweight took a major toll on his body, and by the time he stepped into the ring with Crawford, he was already drained. Now, with the possibility of fighting at 154 pounds, Spence believes he'll be stronger, sharper, and more durable, ready to prove that his real abilities were never shown in their first encounter.
Catching, especially late. He's just a little lax and, he got caught. He should have boxed a little bit more, but...
The war of words has spilled onto social media, with both fighters and their fans trading shots. Spence has shared training videos highlighting his strength at 154 pounds, while Crawford has responded with clips from their first fight, showing how easily he dominated Spence. Even boxing analysts and former champions have weighed in, some supporting Spence's claim that the weight cut affected him, while others insist Crawford's skill was the real difference. Tensions escalated further when Crawford publicly questioned whether Spence even deserves a second chance. "I beat him bad. What's going to change?" "You can't just erase that," he said. The remark sent shockwaves through the boxing world, with Spence fans labeling Crawford arrogant and dismissive. In response, Spence doubled down, declaring he's tired of the disrespect and ready to prove why he was once an undefeated champion.
Are you willing to do this rematch back at welterweight?
It's something I got to talk to my management about, but hopefully.
As negotiations continue behind closed doors, the public feud is making this rematch feel even more personal. Pride, history, and ego ensure that when Crawford and Spence finally meet in the ring, it won't just be about titles, it will be about settling a score. But will Spence's argument hold up? Or is he setting himself up for another brutal night against Crawford? The biggest hurdle to this rematch hasn't been money or network politics, it's the weight class. When Errol Spence Jr. activated his rematch clause immediately after losing to Terence Crawford, he assumed he could negotiate the fight at 154 pounds, a weight he believes suits him better. But there was a major issue. He never officially requested a weight change in the contract. The original agreement for their first fight in 2023 included a rematch clause with a specific condition. The rematch would take place at 147 pounds unless both fighters agreed otherwise. Spence's team has pushed hard for the fight at 154 pounds, but Crawford refused. From his perspective, he dominated Spence at welterweight and saw no reason to adjust just to suit his opponent. Spence and his supporters see this as Crawford avoiding a more competitive fight, arguing that the only reason he refuses 154 pounds is because Spence would be stronger and no longer drained from a severe weight cut.
Is there ever a possibility where you would rematch Errol Spence? Or is he in a position where he needs to win again before?
Crawford, on the other hand, sees this as Spence making excuses for being outclassed. "You signed the contract. You knew the terms. I don't owe you any favors," he says. But there's also a deeper strategic reason behind Crawford's refusal. By keeping the fight at 147 pounds, he maintains full control. As the undisputed welterweight champion, all the belts remain on the line, and he gets to dictate the terms. If Spence refuses to fight at 147, he risks losing his only shot at redemption. If he agrees, he faces the same grueling weight cut that he claims cost in the first fight. Either way, Crawford wins the mental game before they even step into the ring.
It's for you.
The possibility is there. He's fighting for Dor, for his title. I'm fighting for a title.
Contract issues have left Spence in a tough spot. If he fights at 147 pounds again, he has no excuses if he loses a second time. If he refuses, Crawford can simply move on, dismissing Spence as someone unwilling to honor the conditions he agreed to. It's a harsh reality for Spence, but one largely of his own making. The question now is whether Spence will swallow his pride and fight under Crawford's terms, or walk away from the rematch entirely. Even before the weight dispute, Spence faced another major obstacle: his health. After his decisive loss to Crawford in 2023, he didn't return to the ring immediately. Instead, he underwent eye surgery to fix lingering issues that had affected his vision. It was a long and painful recovery, and during that time, Crawford barely acknowledged him. While Spence was sidelined, Crawford pressed on, moving up to 154 pounds, winning another title, and rarely mentioning Spence's name in interviews. From the outside, it seemed Crawford had already moved on, leaving Spence to navigate his injuries and uncertainty alone.
And there's the possibility. He win his fight, God willing. I win my fight, God willing. And there's a possibility.
Spence, however, never gave up on the idea of a rematch. Once he was medically cleared, he immediately began pushing for a second fight. But here's where it gets interesting. Why did Crawford suddenly change his stance? For months, he dismissed the idea of facing Spence again, publicly mocking the notion that Spence could perform better and showing little interest in a rematch. Now, as negotiations gain momentum, he's no longer shutting the door. Some speculate Crawford sees an opportunity to take advantage of Spence's inactivity and health concerns. Others think the payday is simply too big to ignore. Spence's supporters have a different perspective. They believe Crawford only wants the rematch, now because he sees Spence as a weakened fighter. After eye surgery and over a year out of the ring, Spence isn't the same athlete he once was. Facing him now could be an easier win for Crawford, allowing him to cement his legacy while securing another big payday. Whatever the truth, one thing is clear: Spence has spent the last year recovering, training, and waiting for his chance at revenge. Whether his body is truly at 100% remains uncertain, but there's no question this is his last opportunity to prove he belongs in the ring with Crawford. Another loss, especially after all the talk about weight and health, could seriously damage his legacy.
54.
How was this particular weight cut? Was it a very difficult one, or did you feel at ease with the weight cut?
I mean, it's always difficult, but
For Crawford, this fight is about cementing his dominance. For Spence, it's about survival. With so much on the line, the build-up to this rematch is already shaping up to be one of the most intense in recent boxing history. But when the bell rings, will Spence's time away from the ring be a blessing or a curse? The rematch debate has sparked one of the hottest arguments in modern boxing. Does Errol Spence Jr. truly deserve another chance? Or was Terence Crawford's dominance so complete that a rematch is unnecessary? Spence's loyal supporters have a clear answer. They argue that the first fight didn't reflect his true ability. Drained from cutting to 147 pounds, he wasn't at his physical best. At 154 pounds, they believe Spence will be stronger, faster, and more durable, a very different fighter from the one who was dominated by Crawford in 2023.
you gotta learn from him. Tank, he good at setting traps, has crazy power that he believes in, he has a great chin.
To Spence's supporters, a rematch isn't just deserved. It's necessary to see the fight that should have happened the first time. Crawford's fans disagree. They argue that weight had nothing to do with it, pointing to how Crawford dominated from the opening bell, scoring 3 knockdowns and stopping Spence in the 9th round. It wasn't just power. Crawford's footwork, accuracy, and defense were on another level, making Spence look slow, predictable, and completely outclassed. Even neutral observers are divided. Some say Spence should have moved up in weight sooner if 147 pounds was truly a struggle. Others insist Crawford was simply the more complete fighter, and no weight change would have altered the outcome. The debate has reached boxing legends and analysts, many of whom remain split over whether Spence's loss was a bad night, a weight issue, or clear proof that Crawford is the superior fighter. And that raises a bigger question. If Spence loses again, what happens to his legacy? The conversation heated further when Crawford added fuel to the fire by questioning whether Spence even belongs in the Hall of Fame.
He's a guy, he'll let you get out punches, and he'll still be coming at you, and then once he catches you,
For years, Spence was considered one of the top pound-for-pound fighters in the world, dominating the welterweight division and collecting belts. But after Crawford dismantled him, some fans and analysts began to question whether Spence was truly elite or simply the best of a weaker era. Crawford didn't hold back, stating bluntly that Spence's career doesn't merit Hall of Fame recognition. His reasoning: unlike fighters who prove themselves across multiple weight classes, Spence spent his entire career at 147 pounds, never moving up or challenging himself outside his comfort zone. According to Crawford, while Spence's record is solid, it lacks the versatility and longevity required for Hall of Fame status. The comment sparked immediate backlash. with Shakur Stevenson, a close friend of Crawford, publicly disagreeing and asserting that Spence absolutely deserves a spot in the Hall of Fame.
Terence went on Pound for Pound podcast and who said that Errol Spence will not be a Hall of Famer based on his record.
I disagree. Errol had a great career. If it wasn't for Bud, he would have been undisputed.
Spence fought and beat some of the best welterweights of his era, including Shawn Porter, Danny Garcia, and Yordenis Ugas, and unified 3 of the 4 major belts in the division. But that only intensified the debate. If dominating a single division isn't enough for Hall of Fame status, should other greats who stayed in one weight class also be questioned? Some fans see Crawford's comments as disrespectful, while others view them as blunt honesty. Either way, the discussion has thrust Spence's name into a Hall of Fame debate that didn't exist before. Whether he likes it or not, Spence's next fight against Crawford or someone else will heavily influence how history remembers him. For Crawford, this is personal. He doesn't just want to beat Spence again. He wants to erase him from the conversation. He aims to cement himself as the superior fighter, ensuring that when fans talk about this era of boxing, they remember Crawford as the greatest and Spence as the man who couldn't keep up. That's why he's downplaying Spence's career, questioning his Hall of Fame credentials, and refusing to fight at 154 lbs. As for Spence, he's remained mostly quiet, avoiding a public war of words with Crawford, but he's paying attention. If he accepts the rematch, it won't just be about revenge. It will be about proving that Crawford didn't face the real Spence the first time and reminding the world why he was once considered one of the best. A victory will completely change the narrative, turning him from a fighter who was exposed into one who overcame adversity, avenged his loss, and silenced his doubters. But another loss, especially a one-sided one, could devastate his legacy, cementing the idea that he's not on Crawford's level. That's what makes this rematch so high stakes.
Either way, I'm going to say it again. Everybody needs to get off of that rematch. Nobody wants to see that shit.
Which rematch?
He don't deserve no rematch. He got whooped.
Which rematch?
Crawford and Spence.
For Crawford, it's about dominance. For Spence, it's about survival. With everything on the line, the question remains, does Spence still have one last great performance in him? Or will this fight finally settle the debate? For the latest updates on boxing news, events, and highlights, subscribe to Knockout Updates and turn on notifications to never miss quality content. Check out our other videos, and until next time, peace